We're now going to take a look at how you are scored during the IELTS Reading General test. So let's begin. How is the IELTS General scored? So first up, let's take a look at how the whole IELTS General test is scored, not just reading. And it's important to note, IELTS tests, both academic and general, are given and scored with something called a band score. So you are given bands, which are roughly translatable to points. The scores range from the lowest at 1 and increase with 0.5. So 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, all the way up to the top score of 9. So if you get an IELTS 9, congratulations, you're probably better at English than me. Maybe not quite, but it's definitely very difficult to get a perfect score within IELTS. So let's take a look at the table. Here we have all the different scores that you can get without taking in half measures. So right at the top, we have our band score 9.0, the highest you can score. This is like pretty much 99% perfect fluency, native level. It's still understood that someone with a 9 might have a slight non-native accent, for example. So, you can still get a 9 but not actually be a native speaker, but it's very difficult indeed. And really, getting a 9 on an IELTS shows almost perfect fluency. And then we can move down the table and take a look at, for example, 7.0. Now, a lot of students are aiming for 7s because universities or visas often require a band score 7. Now, if you get a 7, you're good at English. There's no denying that you are a good English user. There's still some room for improvements. There's still some errors, maybe in your grammar, spoken and in writing, but you're overall a good English user. Obviously not fluent, completely fluent, but high levels of fluency. Now, if we drop further down to a 5, which I do sometimes see IELTS students getting, especially when they're starting out on their IELTS journey, that very much is an average English user, an average English speaker, an average English writer. There's going to be quite a lot of errors within their speaking. For example, it might be a little bit more difficult to understand what they're saying, or it might be that the grammar that they use in speaking and in writing is, there's more errors evident throughout. There's a lot more edits that I can make as a teacher to make perfect. And also listening skills, reading skills are going to be lower, find it more difficult to understand a range of vocabulary. Now, I won't go all the way down the list, but that gives you a good idea of how the band scores for IELTS work. And I know a lot of you are aiming for those 6 to 7s plus. Okay, so that gives an idea of band score. Now let's take a look at some student some student test numbers. So here's student A. He's done an IELTS test. He's done all 4 sections: writing, speaking, reading, listening. Now, how are we actually given the band score? Because we've given 4 individual scores. Our writing actually is 2 scores, an average, because we do task 1 and task 2. So imagine this student got maybe 2 8. So task 1 is 8, task 2 for writing is 8. Overall, they get a band score 8 for writing. They got a 6 in speaking, a 6 in reading, and an 8 in listening. So what we do is we total all these figures up, 8 plus 6 plus 6 plus 8, and then we divide by 4, which gave us 7, and that easily translates just simply to a band score 7. There's no need to round or work out, what is the closest band score in the 0.5 increments that we can give. Okay, so that is how we work out the band scores. We take each section, writing, speaking, reading, listening, add them together, divide by 4. Now here is student B. They got a 6.5 in writing, 7 in speaking, 7 in reading, and a 6 in listening. plus them all together, divide by 4, gives us a 6.625. Now that is closest to 6.5. So overall, student B gets an IELTS band score of 6.5. Another pretty strong result there. Okay, so I won't go over any more of those, but that gives you a really strong idea of how you get your marks for IELTS general test. And it works the exact same for IELTS academic also. So how is the IELTS general reading scored? So during the IELTS reading tests, all students are scored out of 40 possible marks from 40 questions total. So each question out of the 40 will get you 1 mark, and then you can score up to 40 marks. Depending on what you get, 23 out of 40 or whatever it may be equals a certain band score, which you can see here. So if you get all 40 marks right, you get a band score 9 for general reading. And if you get 36 out of 40, you'll get a 7.5. If you get 30 or 31, you'll get a band score 6. So pretty straightforward there. Now, just to compare to IELTS academic reading, slightly different in terms of what you need to get in order to get those band scores. And it's just good that you know that there's some differences just so you have a deeper understanding of what the IELTS test is. But of course, we're focusing here on IELTS general reading. So there is the marking criteria. So whatever it is out of 40 aligns to our band score. And yeah, that's it really. That takes us to the end of this lesson on how is the IELTS scored, but also how do you score for IELTS general reading. And of course, as we go through some more tests, you'll be able to see in a bit more detail how it all comes together.